Hello, and welcome back to Defying the Stars, Tarot, and Astrology for another weekly Pick a Deck reading. This week, we are going to be looking into who it is that you are on the lookout for. The idea for this is that it could be a love reading. I try not to do too many love readings because that's kind of all over the place already. And I want this channel to provide something that maybe isn't out there. But every once in a while, because it is an important part of life and it is something that's heavy on people's hearts and minds, I like to go into that vein. So this week, we are trying to find out who it is that you should be on the lookout for. We have 4 decks here. We have our Modern Witch Tarot. We have Jane Austen, the queen of romance. We have Shakespeare, the Shakespeare Oracle. And finally, we have Grimalkin's Curious Cats Tarot, because what greater love is there than cat love? And with our readings today, I'm also going to be throwing in something that I haven't done, at least in a very long while, on this channel. And that is that I'm going to be using these astrology dice to help us to kind of figure out what placements the person that we're looking for may have. So this will give us maybe some clues about that. So I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath in, hold it for a moment, and as you release that breath, open your eyes and pick the deck that calls to you first. The timestamps for each reading are down in the description below. Please feel free to jump ahead to your reading. If you enjoy these readings, if you feel like they are helpful to you, please don't be shy about hitting that like button. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to catch future readings. And with that, I will see you in your reading. Welcome to the reading for deck number 1, the Modern Witch Tarot. As is my usual practice, I've gone ahead and shuffled off camera, and I am going to go ahead and jump right into our reading for today. So we will cut the deck and we will pull 3 cards to get us started on who is it that we are looking for. Okay. All right. We're looking for someone thirsty, apparently, because there are a lot of cups here. All right. We're starting off with the 2 of Cups. That is what is sometimes referred to as the soulmate card. I don't know that I would go as extreme as that, but the 2 of Cups is a card of harmonious partnership, really working well together, kind of filling in those missing pieces, your better half kind of idea. In terms of describing a person that you should be on the lookout for, I think the 2 of Cups indicates someone who is very open and very open and receptive to the idea of partnership. The first thing that comes to mind with this is like when you are on a dating app and someone is like super upfront about like, hey, I'm looking for a serious relationship. That is my end goal. A lot of times people can be scared to put that out there. They don't want to frighten people off with their intensity. You know, everyone's out there trying to have fun kind of vibe. And I think what this card says is you're looking for someone who is going to be upfront with it and who is going to be really open and vulnerable about that, because that's going to be your sign that they're ready for you. And I feel like the next card, the King of Cups, really reinforces that. This is someone who is who has really kind of fully matured, and they have reached a state where they are able to keep strong boundaries between their emotions and the emotions of others without losing a sense of compassion and empathy. It's a really beautiful kind of level of emotional maturity and balance. And so, what you're looking for, what you're going to be on the eye out for, is somebody who has really achieved that. Don't be afraid of that person who's willing to tell you no, who's willing to say, no, I'm not comfortable with that. And, if that's what you want, fine, but I'm not here for it. Um, Sometimes that person, recognizing that person in your life and realizing, like, wow, this is someone who I can really trust to not play games and not try to fake it to make somebody else happy. That's someone that you can really feel assured is like ready for that kind of partnership. Um, the next card we have here is Temperance. Temperance is a card of balance and moderation, but also the process of getting to that kind of state. Temperance can be a process of going through trials, going through the fire in order to come out better on the other side. It comes from, the term for tempering a blade. You superheat it and work with the metal over and over and over again to make it stronger. And that's what always comes to mind for me with temperance, is that this person that we're talking about has probably been through it, and their experiences, rather than breaking them or leaving them very damaged, traumatized, they could still be traumatized, but their experiences have shaped them in a way that makes them stronger on the other side. Um, so I think what I'm getting from this is, don't be afraid of someone who has a little bit of baggage. Um, don't ignore your instincts, don't ignore those red flags, but not everyone who has been through a tough experience or who has made mistakes is going to necessarily repeat those mistakes or stay in a bad state of being. Um, what comes to mind is my husband. My husband had a terrible first marriage, and I could have very easily been like, nope, I can't deal with this level of trauma and baggage. I'm going to go find someone who's squeaky clean. But it was that experience that he went through that made him so wonderfully emotionally mature and able to be a good partner to me, because otherwise he probably would have been, a doormat. And it was that experience that taught him what he was and wasn't okay with. And so I think, looking at these three cards, I think that there can be a tendency to get scared off a little bit when you meet someone who is that open and that willing to push back against you. And there might be a temptation to be like, yeah, this is a lot for me. I'm going to go find something that's a little more familiar. But ultimately, this is what you're looking for. You are looking for somebody who can meet you there and be a solid partner. We'll get a few more cards just to clarify it all, and then we'll go into our dice to see what kind of astrological placements this person might have. So, with the Two of Cups here, we have the Page of Pentacles. Pages are known as messengers. They are kind of omens for something that's coming. They are the very, very first baby steps. Um, Even before the Knight. The Knight is the next card in each minor arcana, and the Knight is about the start of a journey. I think the Page becomes more that first idea, or that first word of warning or of hope that something is coming. With the Page of Pentacles reversed here, I think what I'm picking up is that this person may be very open to a partnership and very ready for that, but there may be some other things in their life that haven't quite resolved. There may be some things that they are still working their way through. And with it being pentacles, I'm thinking that could be something financial or career related. Um, so basically, the vibe I'm getting is this person may be maybe still working through the first steps in whatever that journey for them is going to be. Um, don't necessarily be afraid of that, but be aware that this person that you're looking for may not be the perfect total package. They appear to be very solid emotionally, but in terms of their livelihood, career, they may not have it all figured out yet. They may be struggling through something. And I think that the message I'm getting here is don't write them off because of that. Um, our next card, the King of Swords reversed. So, coming on top of the King of Cups, I think, the King of Swords is very, very rational and very logical. They can be rational and logical to the exclusion of emotion. And with that coming in reversed here, I think what we're seeing is that this person may actually struggle sometimes with maintaining their rationality and objectivity, but that is not necessarily the worst thing because they are emotionally mature and um, they're not going to fly off the handle necessarily, but sometimes that clear thinking may be a little out of reach for them. Sometimes they're going to be more ruled by their emotions than by their thoughts and ideas. And so there's, with every good there can be a bad. With every heads there's tails, like a coin. um but I feel like this person, King of Swords reversed, I feel like this person really does try their best to stay rational, but it may be a product of circumstances. It may be something to do with the way that their mind works. They may be a little, neurospicy, ADHD or something like that going on. So, again, I'm getting this sense of like, okay, this person is wonderful emotionally. They may have some the other flaws in their character. Everyone does. Don't write them off just because of that. Now, our last card here, under Temperance, we have the Chariot. What I'm getting here is that this person isn't afraid to go for it. They are not going to sit still and wait. The Chariot is a very active card. It is a card of a lot of initiative. Um, I think of the Roman classic phrase that fortune favors the bold, and chariots. I always think of Rome with chariots. Um, but fortune favors the bold. The idea that you're not going to get anywhere, you're not going to have those big gains in life if you don't take some risks. And so what I see here is that this person is not afraid to take a few risks. They're not afraid to go for it when others might exercise more caution. And for you, this could really be a benefit because they're not going to hang back and play games and wait for you to make the first move. Like, they're going to be probably pretty bold about it. And I would say don't be afraid of that. Don't let that spook you, because that's probably what you've been looking for all along. You've probably been getting, so if you've been looking for someone for a while, if you've been in the dating scene for a while, I can only imagine that you're getting frustrated because it's hard not to. I've never talked to anyone who was like, "I love dating. I love playing games. I love doing all of that." If you love all that, then you are not ready for a relationship. Um, so I think, the overall tone of this reading is somebody is going to be coming in hot, and they are not going to be perfect, but they are going to be what it is that you need and what you're looking for. And go ahead and be open to that. Take a chance on this person. So we'll wrap it up with our dice. I apologize if this gets loud. My microphone is pretty sensitive, but All right. So we have here Scorpio. So this person could be a Scorpio sun or have that somewhere else in their chart, rising sign, moon sign. Um, I really feel like it could fall anywhere in the chart. Um, but Scorpio is the hold on, let me count. Um, let's see, Scorpio is related to the eighth house. Um, so this could be someone with strong eighth house placements, um, but more likely they're going to have a prominent Scorpio placement somewhere in their chart. We also have 10, the 10th house. That could also indicate, the combination of Scorpio and 10th house could mean that their 10th house does begin in Scorpio and that's their midheaven. So they would present outwardly um, as having a lot of Scorpio traits. Um, when someone's midheaven is in a sign, what that means is that's kind of the legacy and reputation that they project out into the world. It's sort of their professional face. And so thinking about that, this could be, if it's someone you run into in a professional capacity, they could present as very Scorpio like. And I'll get into what that might look like in a second here. But the final dice are planet signs. It looks like we have got, let me just make sure that, yeah. So that is going to be Uranus. That planet is typically associated with Aquarius. Um, it is associated with a lot of kind of rebellious energy. And when I say rebellious energy, it doesn't have to be outwardly rebellious in the conventional way we think. And it doesn't mean they're like a rebellious teenager and they've got a mohawk and a bunch of piercings. Um, what it means is there's someone who has a tendency to really challenge the status quo, who likes to shake things up and challenge other people's way of thinking about things. And that kind of makes me feel like that this ties back into the King of Swords here. King of Swords reversed, if the King of Swords is the super rational mind, somebody who's the King of Swords reversed might be prone to challenging conventional thinking and thinking about things in a way that's very different from other people. So I feel like these two things kind of correspond. When it comes to that Scorpio energy that you might be looking for, um, the Scorpio energy is going to be someone who is probably pretty guarded and private at first. Not necessarily that they're not open to sharing about themselves, but they're not going to just blurt it all out. They're not going to share a lot right up front. They are going to wait for you to kind of coax it out of them. Scorpios can also be very, very charming, charismatic. They tend to have just kind of an energy about them that is very attractive and magnetic. Um, and that's kind of, the way that they kind of draw people to them rather than seeking people out. Um, One last thing with the Scorpio energy is that it is a fixed water sign. What that means is that they are ruled a lot by emotion, which we had all of the water cards up above that indicate that as well. They are ruled a lot by emotion, but their emotions are very steady and they don't like big changes in their emotional state. A big emotion is something that might spook them a little bit. Um, they they like to be in control of things, and I think that's because they don't like to have their emotional state rocked. They like to feel like they have a firm handle on everything, because if they don't, then that does impact them pretty heavily in a way that it might not as much a different element, a sign of a different element. One last thing I'll add from our dice is the 10th house. That is Capricorn energy. So this person may be very serious about their finances, about their career, about their family, about their legacy. Um, what I get from this is this could be someone who, even if they don't have like a career that they are super intense about, even if they don't have um, something solid right now, that is something that is very top of mind for them and is going to be a priority for them. Um, Having that big 10th house energy, you are very concerned with what you're building and what you're leaving behind. And so that might be another thing that you're on the lookout for with this person. I think that just about wraps it up. So I am going to move along to the next reading, but I thank you for being here. Please hit that like button or drop a comment. Let me know what you thought of this reading, and I hope to see you again in the future. Hello, welcome to the reading for deck number 2, our Jane Austen Tarot. I have gone ahead and shuffled off camera as usual, and I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck and get right into it. As a reminder, we are asking today, who should you be on the lookout for? Who is it that you are hoping will come in? All right. Very interesting. Okay. So we have the 7 of clubs. That would be the 7 of wands. We have the 2 of hearts, which would be the 2 of cups. And we have the 7 of spades, which would be the 7 of swords, and is also called out as the chariot in this deck. So let's dive into what that means. With the 7 of wands, I'm sensing someone who is very passionate about a lot of different things and is maybe trying to juggle a little too much in their life right now, probably. They're trying to go it alone and build something in a big way. Whether they are succeeding or not, that's unclear. Maybe future cards will tell us that. But this is someone who has a lot of drive and passion and is currently on kind of a solo path with that. It doesn't mean they don't have room for a partner, just means that right now that they are very dedicated to something in particular. With the 2 of cups here, um, I find it so interesting that that's appearing in this reading as well, because it was in our first reading. Maybe it is not surprising at all. The 2 of Cups is a card of partnership, of harmonious collaboration, sometimes called the soulmate card. So obviously, if you're looking for someone, you're looking for someone who's going to be a good partner to you, who is going to be ready for that kind of intimacy and connection. And so this person definitely is. And what I said about that in the first reading is that I feel like it's going to present a little bit differently with this person than the one I talked about in the first reading. But the way that this might present is they might be very upfront about what it is they're looking for. They might be very upfront about being interested in a relationship. And what I cautioned in the first reading, and I'll say here as well, is don't let that spook you. In the dating world, it's something that people can be very reluctant to say that they are actually looking for something serious. And sometimes that can feel like a lot of pressure when you're first just meeting someone, getting to know them. But don't let that scare you off, because it's that openness to a relationship that is key to having one. You don't want to meet someone who's going to have an issue with commitment, or who is going to be closed off to having someone else in their life. Our final card here, the 7 of Swords and the Chariot. So the 7 of Swords energy is very much about moving away from something in the past that no longer serves you. It is about kind of picking up your swords and going home. The battle's over, and now it's time to cut your losses. Um, I think it's important that this card is also reflective of the Chariot, though, because the Chariot is a card of initiative and boldness, a willingness to take risks and to go after something that they want. So, what I'm seeing here with that combination of the two, this person may be fresh out of something contentious. They may be, they may be cutting their losses on a previous relationship, a career, a situation, any kind of situation that isn't serving them any longer. But they are also making a bold choice to go after the things that they want. They're not taking a lot of time to slow down and you know mull it over. They're not looking to take a lot of time um, to process or whatever it is that people may take time for. They're ready to keep moving. Um, so those are some of the things to kind of be on the lookout for with this person. Let's get a few more cards to get a better idea of what we have going on here. So the 10 of clubs here, the 10 of wands coming in on top of that 7 of wands. We talked about someone who's very passionate and very driven, and they're on kind of a solo mission with something. This 10 of wands coming in indicates that they're getting close to the finish line. They are right on the cusp of getting where it is that they want to be. So you're probably meeting them at the right time because they have been putting all of their passion and energy into something in particular, but they are getting to a point where they have reached a goal, reached the point um, that they wanted to get to. Um, Conversely, sometimes with the 10 of wands, it's the point where your energy just runs out. So they could be burning out on the thing that they have been putting so much time and energy into. Either way, they are reaching a turning point where they are either going to be, satisfied and happy that they've met a goal and looking to start something new, or they are going to be reaching a point where they're like, I thought that this was what I wanted, but I'm so burnt out. I need to look at something different. So, whichever one it is, this person is going to be looking to make a major change in their life, and they're going to be looking to shift their priorities probably a little bit. Next, we have on top of that 2 of cups, the Queen of Swords, Queen of Spades here. Um, this is a character that is very no nonsense. They are very rational in their thinking. They are not prone to be swayed by emotional arguments. Sometimes they can be a little cold, um, but ultimately, in the best version of this person, they are very grounded in reality and reason and logic, and they might be a little critical. They might be a little careful and discerning when it comes to deciding who to partner up with. Um, this might be someone who judges you a little harshly at first. I think what I'm getting from this is maybe don't be put off by that. Trust that you are have no responsibility other than to just be you, and believe that you are going to meet their standards, and you don't need to. Definitely, if you feel yourself slipping into a headspace of, okay, I have to change to please this person, then you need to stop and reevaluate, because that is not what we're going for here. The idea is that this person has high standards, but you meet those standards. So don't let that get to you. One last card here to clarify. All right, so we have the Ace of Cups on top of this 7 of Swords slash the Chariot. The Ace of Cups is an indicator that this person is ready for a new beginning. They are ready to prioritize love and their emotional well-being over maybe whatever it was that they were prioritizing in the past. So if you have a person in mind for who this might be, and you're thinking, God, they've been so focused on this, they haven't even been thinking about a relationship, and you're wondering if you can kind of trust that they're really ready now, I think what the Ace of Cups coming in is saying is like, no, they are really reevaluating, and they are really ready to embrace this opportunity to have love in their life. I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice now. I want to go ahead and do that more quickly than I did in the last reading because I talk too much. Typical Gemini. So I'm going to roll the dice and see if we can get some idea of what kind of characteristics this person might have, what kind of astrological placements, if you have the chance to see their sign. Okay. So we have Sun, Capricorn, and 12. All right. Let's start with the 12th house. The 12th house is ruled by Pisces and Neptune. It is the house of the subconscious, um, of the ethereal, the realms beyond the physical realm. It is a house that deals a lot with spirituality, with dreams, with imagination. So this person might present with a lot of Piscean kind of energy, a lot of dreaminess, a lot of intuition. They might be very into their spiritual beliefs, um, and they could also just be someone who is very in touch with their emotional state, very interested in their own psychology, very introspective. Um, all of those things can be kind of the 12th house. Um, Moving on to, we have the sun as our planet here. So the sun is all about our identity and what shines through from us, our core personality. The sun is not necessarily associated with any one sign. Um, well, that's not true. A lot of times it's associated with Leo. Um, I would say with the sun coming through here, this is somebody who is very sure of themselves, very confident in who they are, and very willing to show that. They are very open. Um, they are not going to keep a lot hidden. They're not going to have a lot going on beneath the surface. What I get from that is kind of an idea of what you see is what you get. With the sign of Capricorn coming through, what I get from that is this person is very goal oriented and very driven. They have, what we got from, our Seven of Wands and our Ten of Wands is that they've been working really hard on something. And so this is somebody who's probably always going to have a goal that they're working toward. They're probably always going to be focused on the future, what they're building, what they're going to leave behind. Um, Sometimes that Capricorn energy can be so focused on goals and tasks at hand that they kind of, forget to stop and smell the roses. So that's kind of the downside of that energy. But this is someone who's very hardworking, very concerned with their reputation, very concerned with what they are going to leave behind. This is big dad energy from Capricorn. Big kind of, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. Vibes is what I get from Capricorn sometimes. Um, so putting it all together, I think what you see is someone who dreams really big, who is very focused on their goals, who is very introspective, very in tune with themselves, and very open and honest about who they are and willing to share that. I hope this gives you a good roadmap of what it is that you're looking for as you go out into the world. Please leave me a comment or hit that like button if this was a good reading for you. Feel free to leave me your feedback if it wasn't. And with that, I will move on to the next. But thank you for being here. I hope to see you again in the future. Welcome to our reading for deck number 3, our Shakespeare Oracle. I have gone ahead and shuffled off camera, so we are going to just get right into it, cut the deck, and draw our first 3 cards. Just as a reminder, what we are talking about today is who is it that you should be on the lookout for? What kind of person is this? How will you know them when you see them? So for our first 3 cards, all right, card number 1, we have the Magician. This is someone who is very much in their own power, in control of their own life. They are the kind of person that makes things happen for themselves. They are not going to wait for somebody else to do it for them. They are not going to sit back and say, like, oh, well, maybe it's just not possible for me. Sorry. And trying to straighten them, I made it so much worse. With the Magician, you have someone who just seems to have this uncanny ability to pull the strings of their own life and send it in the direction that they want it to go. So this is someone who is very, very powerful, very able to kind of manifest things into their own life. With our second card, Judgment Reversed, this could be someone who has, the first thing that comes to mind is somebody who has a hard time seeing their role in things. This could be someone who, as much as they are used to just getting their way and being able to have things their way, they may not always see very clearly their impact on others or their own responsibility for things that don't go well. I think another thing that might be coming in with this Judgment Reversed is this may be someone who has a hard time understanding that not everyone feels that same level of power or control in their own life. They may be a slightly judgmental person in the sense that, they think that, well, if I can do it, anybody else can. Um, so they may have that kind of obliviousness to the struggles of others because they don't understand them themselves. They don't have those kinds of struggles in their lives. They seem to be able to just kind of overcome them without a lot of effort. Um, so they may be someone who is kind of a little oblivious is the energy that I'm mainly picking up. We'll see if the additional cards that we pull tell us anything more about that. But moving along to the Queen of Coins, this is someone who is very settled. They have built their nest already. This is someone who is very in control of their own little realm. That may be their home, their living space. That may be their family and friend groups, but they are very much, they have worked their way to a comfortable position. They are not stingy with it. They are probably very generous and open and willing to share what they have, but they may get a little complacent at times because again they have built their own sense of comfort, and they may have a hard time having that comfort disturbed or shaken up. So this could be someone who's a little set in their ways, who is a little finicky about things. They probably have strong opinions about aesthetics. They probably have strong opinions about how they want things to look, how they want things to be arranged. But ultimately, with it being that Queen of Coins energy, what I get is someone who is very comfortable, but is not necessarily stingy or dictatorial about things, but you may run into friction with them from time to time because they are so set in their ways and they're not used to being challenged on that. They're not used to um, having a difference of opinion about what would look the best or what would be the most comfortable. So, if you do find yourself in a relationship with this person and you want to redecorate their place, that could be a fight. That could be an issue. Let's get some more cards to try to get a little more clarity on what kind of person this is. So we have here the 8 of Wands reversed. Let's go ahead and take a look at the quote on that card. All things be ready if our minds be so. I think what this card indicates with the Magician is that they are, again, they are very able to kind of visualize what it is that they want to have happen and make it come into being. The quote there, all things be ready if our minds be so. If you can think it, you can be it. Basically, is kind of the message that's coming in there. But with that reversed, I think I'm getting again more of that energy of like they have a hard time seeing that it's not that easy for everyone. They have a hard time being empathetic with others about that. Another thing that comes up with the 8 of Wands that isn't necessarily reflected in that quote very well is this idea of things are in midair and they could fall either way. I think that this person is probably juggling a fair amount. They may have a lot going on in their life. Um, they may feel very confident about how all those things are going to go. They may have a lot of power and capability to steer that. But at the end of the day, there is a possibility that things aren't going to go the way that they think they will. And they might struggle a little bit with failure. They might struggle to accept when things don't go their way. They might beat themselves up pretty bad about it, honestly. People who are not used to failing can take it pretty hard. Under Judgment reversed, we have the Moon and the Three Witches of Macbeth. I love this card. With this Moon card, what I'm getting, especially coming in on top of Judgment reversed, um, this person has a strong sense of what it is that they think the world is. They have a strong sense of their own opinion. They have a strong sense of what they think reality is. And that sense may be a little distorted. Um, with the Moon card, we have, seeing things by moonlight, everything looks different than it would in the light of day. Um, Sometimes there can be a lot of clarity in that. Sometimes it brings us in touch with our intuition. But sometimes it can really cloud our thinking and our judgment. And I think here we have someone who has developed a pretty strong, solid, intuitive feeling of what they think the world is. And they may struggle a bit when that is challenged. Um, but that doesn't mean that they can't deal with challenge, just that I think, again, I get a sense of just kind of obliviousness of they've just never had to deal with it. And so if and when they do, that could be a big challenge for them. That could be a big point of growth for them. And finally, we have the Queen of Wands coming in on top of that Queen of Coins. So this is someone with a lot of that regal energy, that in control energy. This is someone who is very used to being in charge. This is someone who's very used to kind of delegating things out um, to having a lot of say in how things go. They don't necessarily present that in a very aggressive forward way. They are probably more deft and delicate in how they wield their power and control, but they are used to being in control. Not necessarily a bad thing, just that this is someone who is very assertive. Um, they may not be aggressive about it. They are probably very they probably have some good soft skills, they're probably very persuasive, probably very good at convincing people to do what they want to do um without a lot of force. Um and with the Queen of Wands and coming in and the Queen of Coins, this is someone who has a lot of passion and drive, and they are very concerned with the rewards and the sort of material returns of their actions. This is someone who's very worldly. This is someone who is very much in the physical world. They're not necessarily someone who is spending a lot of time thinking about things. They're not concerned as much with concepts and ideas or emotions and feelings as they are with just actions and tangible results. So, when it comes to dealing with this person, reaching this person, you're going to do better with action and with tangible physical things that they can see and touch and experience with the five senses. If you get into a lot of the realm of thought or emotion, this person might tune out a little bit. That's the overall vibe I get there. Let's go ahead and roll our astrology dice and see what kind of placements we might expect with this person, what kind of personality traits. Okay, very interesting. All right, so we have right up front, we have Aries as our sign. That does not surprise me at all. With the Magician, the first card in the deck, Aries, the first sign in the zodiac, a lot of fire energy, a lot of strong personal identity, a lot of solo individual action. This is a person who knows what they want and they just go. They don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. They probably don't spend a lot of time planning. They are instinctive actors, and they are very goal oriented. They are very driven. Um, this is someone who is probably busy all the time. They are very active, energetic. They may be athletic, they may not, but they're probably, if they're not like routinely athletic, they're probably someone who's always going into a new kick of like, I need to find a way to get more active. I need to start doing this. I need to start doing that. Maybe they're always starting a new class at the gym or something like that. Um, with the seventh house, though, this is so interesting with this person because with all that Aries energy, that is very first house energy, and that opposite house is the seventh house. The seventh house is all about the other. It is all about that concern and consideration for other people. Um, Seventh house energy can be very self-sacrificing, very much it's the kind of person that forgets to think about themselves and what they want because they're so busy thinking about what everybody else wants. So I think sometimes this Aries first house kind of energy can be a little deceptive and hide that this person actually does have spend a lot of time thinking about other people and does spend a lot of time thinking about what other people want and need. Um, it probably presents itself in a very earthy and fiery way in that they try to make other people happy with physical things. They're probably very prone to give gifts or try to solve other people's financial problems. Um, they are probably also very prone to acts of service. So they're going to show their love not by um, not with a lot of words, not with a lot of you know, I don't want to say not with gestures, but like not with a lot of just pure romance. It's not going to be a lot of declarations of love. It's not going to be poetry and flowers and all of that. It's going to be probably more along the lines of, "Hey, I cleaned your car for you. I uh, I made the bed. It's going to be a lot of those kinds of either physical comforts or doing the things for you that you seem to have a hard time doing for yourself. It's a very, like you said, very action oriented person. So that's going to be their go to. But with that seventh house, they do still have a lot of concern and consideration for others. Um, and finally, our planet is Pluto. Um, that that surprises me a little bit with all of this energy because it is such deep and um, a deep and introspective kind of energy with Pluto. Pluto is associated with Scorpio, with things that are hidden beneath the surface, things that are maybe a little more taboo, the areas of life that we don't like to talk about or think about quite as much. Um, but it's also associated with transformation, big transformational change, evolution, leveling up. Um, I think what I get putting that all together, I think that this is a person that is very concerned with their own personal growth and development. They are interested in constantly leveling up, being better. Um, they may be a little scattered in how they do that, but deep down, what they want is to continuously evolve and grow. And I think with Pluto too, there's an aspect of power and control. Pluto being the god of the underworld, having this kind of realm and responsibility beneath you, and maintaining the control over that. I think that is an aspect that really comes in with this personality. So this is a very strong personality. They are very active and very forward, very busy. Um, they can probably be pretty rigid, but there is a really good heart there that does is capable of putting a partner top of mind and taking care of them in a really beautiful way. Um, and if if this is the person for you, then I would imagine that that's what you're looking for. That's what you need. It's a little weird for me because I've got a lot of air and water energy, and this is just not it. But for you, it sounds like it could be something really beautiful and wonderful. With that, I'm going to move on to the next. Thank you so much for being here. Please drop a like, drop a comment, let me know what you thought. But if I don't hear from you, I hope to see you again in a future reading. Welcome to our reading for deck number 4. This is Grimalkin's Curious Cats Tarot. I've gone ahead and shuffled off screen as usual, so we're going to dive right into our reading, cut the deck, draw our first 3 cards. Again, we are talking about who you should be on the lookout for. This person you're looking for to come into your life. How will you recognize them? So with our first 3 cards, we have Strength, we have the Hanged Man reversed, and we have the Queen of Cups. All right, I'm going to try to shift these so they're a little straighter. I cannot seem to get my camera angle just right. Starting off with the Strength card, this is a person who has really strong moral character. And when I say moral character, I don't mean that they're necessarily like moralistic and they're, going around it doesn't have to be a religious thing, it doesn't have to be a dogmatic thing. It's just that they have a really strong backbone. They have a really strong internal strength of character. This is someone who is quietly courageous, who is very much it's kind of a hidden strength is how I always see the strength card. It's visualized beautifully here with this, the smaller cat um, kind of calming and taming this snarling wolf. Um, there's a kindness to this strength. There is a serenity to it. of you are able to tame the savage beast because you are so calm and centered in yourself. Um, so this person that you're looking for, they may not be extremely assertive or um, you know, outwardly strong, but they have a tremendous character about them. They have a tremendous um, self-awareness, a tremendous capability to stand up when the moment is right and to speak to power in a way that is not just strong but effective. And I don't know, it's just really beautiful energy. Um, that inner strength of being that doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't have to be a really strong, outward force of will. But when the moment is right, when the situation calls for it, this person has a tremendous well of strength to draw on. This could be someone who's been through a lot and has come out stronger on the other side for it. Someone who is very resilient, who is very capable of getting through adversity. With the Hanged Man reversed, the Hanged Man is a card of being kind of stuck, a victim of circumstances. Um, I think with this card coming in reversed, I think that this person is probably someone who has been through a lot, who has been the victim of circumstances, but rather than staying in that mindset, rather than letting themselves become stuck, they have tapped into that inner strength and they are able to move on with grace and just keep plugging forward even though they have had tragedy or setbacks in their life. Finally, with the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Cups is such a beautiful maternal energy. And this could be true even if this is, a male gendered person that we're talking about. But the energy is just very nurturing. The Queen of Cups is very, very empathetic. They are very in tune with the feelings of others, and they are very much able um, to channel that to read what a person needs and what they're feeling and to meet that sort of effortlessly. Um, the Queen of Cups is maybe not quite as firm in her energetic boundaries as a King of Cups might be. So, this could be someone who maybe takes on the pain and suffering of others more than they should. This could be someone who is easily swayed by the emotions of others, but you know, it, they have this beautiful capability to always be able to tap into that empathy and kindness and compassion. And, you know, perhaps they could work more on caring for themselves, but um, it, if they were to do that, it might change them a little bit. It might make them colder. So it's kind of a give and take there. Of this person may always be a little bit susceptible to the emotions of others, but it gives them a tremendous gift to help others and be there for people and nurture them through hard times. Let's get some more cards to figure out what kind of energy we're dealing with. So here, on top of strength, we have the Empress reversed. The Empress is energy. Again, there's a lot of feminine energy here, and again, it doesn't have to be someone who is identifies as female in gender, but that feminine energy of of soft power, of persuasion over force, of influence over coercion. But with the Empress reversed here, I sense that this is someone who doesn't fully recognize their own power, who doesn't fully embody their own power. They have it, it's within them, it's in there, but they may have a hard time accessing it. They may have a hard time showcasing it to the world. They may have a hard time just believing it for themselves. I think that this person as strong as they are, may struggle a little bit with that kind of self-esteem. um, there's one thing to love and respect yourself, but there's another layer to it when you start to expect that from everyone else in that chooses to be in your life. um, and it's that sort of next step of expecting everyone else to love and respect them that I think is still in progress. Next, we have under the Hangman, we have the Knight of Cups reversed. The Knight of Cups is someone who wears their heart on their sleeve, and they are willing to be open and vulnerable and go into things knowing that they might get hurt. With this coming in reversed, I think that this person may be a little gun shy. They may have been hurt in the past, and they may be a little guarded about opening up again. They may be a little bit reluctant to dive right in emotionally. They might be protecting themselves a little bit on that front. So this might be someone you have to work through a little bit of resistance with if you're trying to have a relationship with them. All right. And so with the Queen of Cups, we have the Emperor reversed. The Emperor is very masculine, assertive energy. The Emperor is in control. They are willing to assert that control um, over what they see as their territory, their realm. And they're not shy about it, and it is very direct. It's not what I called before with the Empress. It's not soft power. With this card coming in reversed, especially clarifying the Queen of Cups, I think that this person has a really hard time being assertive. They have a really hard time being direct. They have a really hard time being forceful and really standing up for themselves. Um, so I think that with this person, it's important to be careful not to take advantage of that and to help them to build themselves up and believe in that. They might need somebody to stand up for them from time to time because they just have a hard time doing that for themselves. But that shouldn't lead you to believe that this person is weak because of it, because we started off with strength. This person is extremely strong. They are so resilient. They can get through anything. And if they can find a way to pull on that strength and believe in their power, they can really wield a lot of influence. But I think it's key to this person's personality that they don't really want to. They would rather get through by being sweet, by being kind, by being persuasive and gentle rather than forceful and having to be really firm with other people. That's just not where they're comfortable. But there's still something beautiful in that. Let's get our astrology dice in here to see if we can get some idea of this person's placements, personality, what we might expect. Okay. Right off the bat, we have Leo. Leo is associated pretty closely with the Strength card. The Strength card in traditional tarot tends to depict a lion. Um, this Leo energy, um, Leo is very egocentric generally. I don't know that this person is that kind of energy in the traditional sense. Um, a lot of times the way that feminine energy comes through with the sign of Leo um, is a bit of passive aggressiveness sometimes, or just kind of that strike what I said about passive aggressive. I don't think that's the term I was going for, but there is a passivity there. Um, that this kind of energy with Leo is someone who um, is very egocentric in their mind. They are thinking about themselves pretty deeply with there's a lot of self-awareness and introspection there. And they do tend to think about things in the world in terms of their own self And when I say egocentric, I don't mean they're egotistical. I mean that they have a worldview of they are the center and everything else revolves around. Not thinking that they should be the center or that they deserve to be the center, just that's the way their brain is oriented. Um, but with Leo, there's also a lot of warmth and a lot of genuine um, kindness and wanting to share and kind of nurture your pack. Leos being lions, they're pack animals, and we don't want to get too deep into the lion metaphors because then you start to stray very far from human behavior. But I think with this Leo energy, I'm picking up on someone who is very quietly loving, quietly sharing with others, very giving of themselves, and is probably quietly suffering because they desperately crave to feel that in return. And most people that they run into life are not going to give as freely and openly as they do. And so they feel this lack of reciprocity. They are always craving something, craving that love and attention that they do not feel comfortable asking for directly because they want it to be given freely. They want it to be voluntary. They want it to be genuine and generous. Um, the seventh house, um, we talked about Leo and that sort of egocentricity, but even though they do kind of experience the world with themselves at the center as a seventh house energy person, they are very much concerned with the thoughts and feelings of others. And I think we saw that in the Queen of Cups. This is someone who is very in tune with the feelings of others. They are very concerned with the feelings of others. They are worried about what other people think and feel. They are worried about inconveniencing or frustrating or hurting other people inadvertently. They're the kind of person that thinks about all of those things. And I think that there can be a lot of frustration and sadness when that is not returned. And finally, we have the planet of Uranus. Kind of a surprising twist here, and that's why I love doing these astrology dice because they can really unveil some things that are hidden in the cards. Um, that energy is very much about um, revolution. Uranus energy is associated with Aquarius. Um, there is a goal for a better world, a better community, improving on the status quo. But there is a lot of energy about challenging conventional wisdom, challenging accepted ideas, challenging the way that things are done. I think that this person just really wants to see the world be a better place. They want to see other people be as kind and considerate as they are. They want to see other people be as generous and warm as they are. And they are probably frequently disappointed by that, but there's still an idealistic core there where they are never going to give up on that better world. So overall, we have just a very warm, strong, giving person who probably doesn't receive a lot in return because they're not willing to be assertive and ask for that or demand that. And they can get taken advantage of because of that. But they are so idealistic and hopeful that people can just be better that it's hard to want to change them. I think that that kind of summarizes it well, so I'm going to leave it there. But I want to thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this reading, please let me know by hitting that like button or leave me a comment. Let me know your feedback. I would really appreciate it. But if I don't hear from you, thank you again, and I hope to see you again in a future reading.